Hello. This lesson is about microeconomics and particularly elasticity. And specifically, we're going to talk about price elasticity of demand. That is a concept that comes from physics but is applied to economics in the sense that we will change the price and we will know how much the quantity demanded will change as a consequence. So what is the price elasticity of demand? Well, the definition is a percentage change in the quantity due to a percentage change in the price. We can compute that because the formula to calculate the percentage change of Q is the change in Q over the value of Q. Could be considered as final value of Q minus initial value divided by initial value. And we can do the same for P, for the price. So at the end, just ordering again these elements, we can end up here with this expression that at the end can be changed and substituted by this one because this element is the inverse slope of a linear curve. So these two expressions are equivalent, and the one that we're going to use for now is this one. Now, how can we use elasticity? How can we use elasticity? Well, we can use elasticity to make pricing decisions. Basically, why? That's the question. Well, as you might know, by knowing the sign could be positive or negative, and by knowing the magnitude of the elasticity, we could know whether to increase or decrease the price of our product if we are suppliers in order to have higher economic benefits. Also, we can use elasticity to make public decisions. As we're going to see later, for example, government could know that if some drugs have a high elasticity, high and negative elasticity, it could be convenient to increase the price of these drugs so that people could stop consuming them. So we will see that it will also be useful elasticity to make public decisions. Okay. Then we have three different types of elasticity of demand. One is when it is elastic. Regardless of the sign, could be positive or negative, doesn't matter. If it is higher than 1, it is elastic. Then, if it is lower than 1, it is inelastic. And finally, when it is equal to 1, it is unitary. We're going to see some how could we apply these features later. Then, what could be the optimal decision for the supplier once that he knows the elasticity of the demand in a particular market? Well, it depends on the sign. If the sign of the elasticity is positive, what do you understand by that? If it is positive, let's say we have an elasticity of 2, positive. What does that mean? Okay, it means that both price and quantity will move in the same direction, right? For example, if I increase the price, then the quantity demanded will increase as well. If I decrease the price, the quantity demanded will decrease as well. Both go in the same direction. So, if it is positive, should it be convenient to lower the price under the supplier point of view? What might happen? Think about it. Okay, if we lower the price, quantity demanded will decrease as well because they both go in the same direction. So the supplier will be worse off. It won't be convenient, right? For the supplier. Now, what might happen with the same positive sign in the elasticity if we increase the price? What might happen? Do you think that raising the price should be a good decision for the supplier if the elasticity is positive? Okay, you got it. Yes. Why? Because both price and quantity go in the same direction, right? The supplier will be better off. Finally, what might happen if the supplier maintained the same price? Well, nothing. Nothing will happen. Price will stay the same, quantity will remain the same, and finally the outcome would be that the situation will not change at all, right? So, which is the best pricing decision if the elasticity is positive for this player? To increase the price, right? Because by increasing the price, quantity demanded will increase as well. This is not too common because normally when you increase the price, people don't buy your product too much, but sometimes it might happen in some particular markets. Luxury goods is a good example. If you will buy, I don't know, a very expensive car and it increases in the price, you might be willing to buy it, still be willing to buy it. Why? Because now it's more exclusive. For example, if we are talking about a Ferrari and then the price now goes down instead of going up, the price goes down, you might not think that it is a very, very good car, and now that it is very cheap, now all the people can buy it, so it's not worth it for you anymore, so you won't get it. So for luxury goods in this particular market, this might happen. We might have positive elasticity, but it's not common. So the most common thing is to have a negative elasticity. So do you realize that if the sign is positive, it doesn't matter whether the demand is elastic, inelastic, unitary, it is positive. So it will always be convenient to increase the price for the supplier. Now let's move on to the next situation in which the negative sign, the elasticity has a negative sign. What does that mean? Well, that means that both price and quantity goes in opposite direction. For example, if I increase the price, then the quantity demanded will decrease. If I decrease the price, quantity demanded will increase. They go in the opposite direction. That's what the negative sign says. Then, if it is negative, should it be convenient to lower the price? Think about it. Well, you will see that it depends. On what? Well, let's suppose that I decrease the price, okay? As a supplier, I will decide to lower the price 10%. If the quantity demanded increases maybe only 1%, it won't be convenient to lower the price, right? But what might happen, for example, if I lower the price only 1% and the quantity demanded increases 10%? In that case, it is convenient to decrease the price. So it depends on the situation. Now, think about this. With the negative sign, should it be convenient to raise the price for this player? Think about it. Okay, once again, it depends, right? For example, if I raise the price 1%, or 10%, let's say 10%, and only 1%, I sell 1% less units, it's convenient because I'm winning 10% by the price and only losing 1% in the quantity. But what might happen if I increase the price, I don't know, only 1%, and then people stop buying it, and I sell 10% less units, then it won't be convenient to increase the price, right? So it depends as well on the magnitude of elasticity, as we are going to see later. So do you realize that if the sign is negative, the pricing decisions depends on how much and how sensitive is the demand. For example, it could be elastic, inelastic, or unitary. If it is very sensitive, if the demand is elastic, it won't be convenient to increase the price, because if you increase the price, let's say 1%, you will lose in units maybe 10%. You will lose and you will sell less units. So it won't be convenient. So it depends on the type of elasticity, elastic, inelastic, or unitary. Let's go step by step in this case. If the elasticity is negative, we could have the case in which we have an elastic demand. In this case, the optimal decision is to lower the price. Why? That's the question. Okay, let's assume that elasticity is minus 1.5. That is an elastic demand, right? Then, if we increase the price 1%, that means that quantity demanded will decrease because they go in the opposite direction because the sign is negative 1.5%. I mean, I will win 1% because I'm increasing the price as a supplier, but I will lose 1.5% in units sold. So at the end, I will end up losing 0.5%. So the supplier will be worse off. Okay? Because it's important to mention that this is just an approximation. If you want to know exactly how much you're going to win as a supplier, you should calculate all your incomes, then discount all your costs, and then you will get your benefits, right? But by using this tool, Elasticity, you could have an approximation of how much benefits you would have. So now let's suppose that you decrease your price 1%. Because elasticity is minus 1.5, quantity demanded will go in the opposite way. I mean, it will increase 1.5%. So you will lose 1% by the price because you are lowering the price. Yes, you're going to sell all your units cheaper. But now you're going to win in quantity because you're going to sell 1.5% extra units. So at the end, you will be winning 0.5%. So the supplier will be better off. That's the reason why it would be convenient to lower the price when the elasticity is negative and elastic. Now let's go to the next case. Elasticity is still negative, but now it is inelastic. I mean lower than 1. Why should it be convenient to raise the price? Think about it. Okay. Same two cases. We will increase the price and then we will decrease the price. If we increase the price, quantity will go in the opposite direction, right? So quantity will go down, but only 0.5%. So you will win 1% because you will increase your price 1%, and you will only lose 0.5%. So at the end, you will end up winning. Supply will be better off. What happens if you decrease the price 1%? Then quantity demanded will go in the opposite way. I mean, it will increase 0.5%. So you will lose 1% by the price, and you will only win 0.5%. You will not offset all the losses. So at the end, you will be worse off as a supplier. So it's not convenient to lower the price. Here, the optimal decision is to raise the price. Then, finally, if we have a unitary demand, it's easy to understand what might happen, right? Look at this. You will increase the price 1% and quantity demanded will go down 1% as well. So at the end, you won't have any change in your situation. As well, if you decrease the price 1%, then the quantity demanded will increase 1%, so you will be exactly in the same situation as in the beginning. So you just maintain the price, and that would be the optimal decision. So, as a conclusion, if the elasticity is negative, for the supplier would be always convenient to raise or lower the price until you get to that unitary elasticity of demand. Okay, if you are in an elastic demand, you will lower the price. If you are in an inelastic demand, you will increase the price. If you are until you get and you reach the unitary demand, right? Because in the unitary demand, you won't move anymore. You are in the optimal pricing decision. You are in the optimal price. You cannot move anymore. Okay. So now, when the elasticity is positive, we have also one optimal decision, that is to raise the price always. It doesn't matter whether you have an elastic, inelastic, or unitary demand, it will always be convenient to raise the price, because if you increase the price, people will buy more units. Okay, so that's the optimal decision. Please don't memorize anything. Try to understand it, because if you just memorize, you will not be able to solve some specific situations. I would like you to understand, not to memorize it. Okay. These are some examples of real elasticities in the United States. Here you can say what I told you before. For example, marijuana has a elasticity of minus 1.5. It is elastic, right, and negative. That means that if the in those states in which consumption of drugs is legal, government could push up prices, and people will stop consuming them considerably, right? So even to make public decisions, it would be convenient to know elasticity magnitudes and to know how elasticity works. For example, here we have another interesting example. Airlines they know that their elasticity in that market is minus 1.3. I mean, it's elastic. That's the reason why you will always have discounts, and you will, if you register in their database, you will receive a lot of discounts because they know that people tend to increase their consumption of airplane tickets when the price is lower. So that's an interesting case. Okay. Now we have here some exercise, one exercise. Here you can solve all these items. It's just practice. I'm just gonna go forward. If you want, you can pause. You can click in the pause button, and you can take notes. You can solve the exercise. This is one exercise, and here are all the solutions. For the first item, you just get the equilibrium. For the second item, here's the graph. Then the third item, item C, you just compute the elasticity by substituting all the values of these three variables. But please here remember that in order to get the slope, you will have to solve for P. Once you solve for P, the slope will be that number that is multiplying Q. In this case, minus 1 over 325. Okay, and we're going to use only the equation, the demand equation, because I'm asking for the elasticity of demand, not of the supply. Okay. Now in the next item, this is how can we interpret this. As I told you before, the definition of elasticity is a percentage change in Q due to a percentage change in P. I mean, P will change, let's say 1%, and then as a consequence, Q will change as well. I don't know, maybe in this case 1.39. For example, this could be interpreted as, for every 1% change in the price, I mean the price will change 1%, the quantity demanded will change in the opposite direction 1.39%. I mean, it's only how much will change Q if we have a change in P, but everything in percentage terms. Now, in this case, it will be convenient to lower the price. Why? Because it is higher than 1 and negative. I mean, if you decrease the price, if you lower the price 1%, you will get more than 1% in quantity, 1.39%. So it will be convenient to lower the price as a supplier. Then demand changes. Here we have the next equation. We solve, we get the equilibrium. This is a new equilibrium. And well, what happened in terms of supply and demand? In this case, demand decreased and supply didn't change. So, by the law of supply and demand, we might know that price and quantity will go down. Okay, they are now lower, and just using common sense, less people now want the product, so price will have to go down, right, to reach the market equilibrium. Then you can get the elasticity here, and we have a new price and a new quantity, so you get a new elasticity, but in this case it is still higher than 1 in absolute terms, so it will still be convenient to lower the price. Okay, well, I hope this might be helpful for you to study.